everyone, welcome to Youth Worker Training from Download Youth Ministry. My name is Josh. I've been in youth ministry for more than 20 years. In fact, I'm a youth pastor at my church right now, and I love teenagers. Well, hey, I just want to say this. Thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to pause and get some training. At Download Youth Ministry, we believe leaders who take the time to learn, they'll lead better than those who wing it. So thanks for sacrificing a little time to help sharpen your skills. Now, I remember one of the very first youth activities I was at as the youth pastor. It was an overnighter, and I know, crazy, but we were up all night, roller skating, bowling, eating pizza, and doing some other stuff that I probably shouldn't repeat. I realized that perhaps more enlightened youth workers now scoff at the idea of an overnighter. All right, I get it. But either way, I was the leader at the event. I had 20 students, a couple leaders, and a 22-year-old me. Well, we got to the bowling alley at about 2 a.m. and the the manager there, he was so concerned because there was no leader with these students in the middle of the night. And of course, I told him that I was the leader. So he made fun of my baby face, and I made fun of his meth addiction, and I paid the bill. Overall, the night was a huge success. But I was left with a nagging feeling. Why was I really indistinguishable from a student? How come I was mistaken for a teenager? Now, everyone told me that it would be great when I was super old, like 40, but it didn't feel great in that moment. Well, part of it was that I was super young. I had a baby face, and I probably did look more like a teenager than a responsible adult youth worker. I get it. And honestly, I wasn't even that much more than maybe a couple of years older than some of the seniors in our group. So I had to come up with a solution, and in true form of a 22-year-old's brain, my wisdom, I came up with a solution for looking older. So I wanted to look more like a leader, so I grew a goatee. Facial hair would certainly solve my dilemma, right? Then the guy at the roller skating rink would respect me, and the lady at Denny's wouldn't wonder who was driving these kids around in the stolen 15-passenger van at 3 a.m. A goatee was the answer. Now, what I didn't know was that I couldn't grow a very good goatee. Like, I had a bald spot on one side of my face, so instead of a goatee, it was really kind of a go-see. And I know it's sad, but I just wanted to give a clue to the bowling alley employees that I had a little bit more testosterone than the prepubescent kids I was with. Now, here's the thing. I'm all for having a good time. When I'm with teenagers, I do love to let loose and be a little crazy and push the line a little bit. But I'm not a student. I'm the leader. Today, the older I get, the less I'm mistaken for being a teenager. I'm actually 73 years old. They were right about me looking younger. But here's what I'm learning. Sometimes in my attempt to be their friend, I blur the lines of my role in their life. You know, when I sit down with the young leaders in my youth ministry, I think I have a little more wisdom about youth ministry to pass on, and none of that wisdom involves an emphasis on facial hair. Here's what I share with the young leaders in my church. The first thing is, don't try to act like a teenager. Act like the leader you are. Number 2 would be show up for the tough stuff, not just the fun stuff. Number 3, maturity precedes parents' respect. And number 4, when you compromise the authority relationship, you got to own it and reestablish your position. Let me unpack each of these really quick, right? So the first one, don't try to act like a teenager, act like the leader that you are. Now, for teenagers, it should be obvious from your behavior that you're the leader of this group. You may be close in age to the student, but your actions as a leader should easily separate you from being mistaken for a teenager. I love it when people have genuine fun with their small group or a group of guys or girls in their youth ministry, but you have to know where the line is, and you have to stay away from that line. You have to know when a joke is going too far, or when a parent is going to be upset, or where a funny prank moves from innocent humor to bullying. In short, act like an adult. Don't act like a teenage peer hanging with his or her buddies. The second thing I would say to my young leaders is that as a leader, you got to show up for the tough stuff, not just the fun stuff. Now, Youth ministry is about a ton of different things, right? Some of those things are fun: pizza, video games, laughter, creating amazing memories. But don't fall into the temptation to just serve in the shallow, fun stuff. Swim in the deep end and be willing to rise to the challenge of youth ministry when it goes from good to bad or even to ugly in teenagers' lives. Don't just show up for the fun. The third thing that I challenge our young leaders with is maturity precedes the parents' respect. And let me explain that sentence because I think it's loaded, right? When you lead teenagers with maturity, with consistency, and with love, parents will respect you right back. They might even love you too. Now, the best parents will also recognize the need for you to let down every once in a while and get a little crazy. But they also recognize you as so much more than that. You are a legitimate caregiver for their family. They expect you to have adult-like, mature behavior. They'll observe your pastoral gifting, your compassion toward their son or daughter, and not just the crazy, fun person who's half wild child and half adult. So please hear me on this, and I'm a fellow struggler in this journey, and I'm way past being a young leader. There's room for both here. Like some leaders, maybe you're in the room today and you're a little more authoritarian type. You know who you are. And I'm hearing you right now going, yeah, we need to quit screwing around and do more intense Bible study with these hooligans, right? And another leader, maybe young or old, is probably caffeinated saying, yeah, we need to let loose and have teenagers have way more fun and go overboard, and we need to do 12 overnighters a year. Don't do that. But I do think both expressions are needed. A healthy balance of maturity and fun, I promise you, it will win over parents and it will create a fantastic youth ministry environment. The last thing I talk about with our young leaders is simply this: when you do compromise that authority relationship, you got to own it and you have to reestablish your position. So, hey, if you've messed up and maybe you've become close friends or peer-like than a leader, you're going to need to reestablish yourself as the leader of the group. You may even need to circle up the gang and apologize if it's necessary. And most importantly, use good judgment in the future. So let me leave you with a couple of closing thoughts and we'll pull it all together. Here we go. The first one is this: the younger you are, the more your actions will be scrutinized. Now, you might know that this is true from experience, but it's also true from the scripture. That's probably why the Apostle Paul warned Timothy about his age when he was a young leader in their church. 1 Timothy 4:12 says this: don't let anyone think less of you because you are young. Instead, be an example to all believers in what you say, in the way you live, in your love, your faith, and your purity. And the second thing I'd like to say is this: the older you are, the less likely you may allow yourself to have fun. Now, I realize this is a little bit of a generalization, but I would encourage you, no matter what your age is, include some fun in your youth ministry role. If you're the van driver at the next overnighter, do everything in your power to keep students safe and laughing along for the ride. If you're the greeter at the door of your youth group, make everyone feel welcome and loved on with a huge smile on your face and inventing new greeting forms and handshakes and high fives and good games when appropriate. But let go just a little bit. It'll help everybody out and create a great environment. And a few of you out there, well, maybe what you need to do is grow some facial hair. Ladies, I'm including you in this. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. My goatee or go-see or whatever it was, it didn't work very well at all. But I did learn that my actions as a leader were incredibly important. When I led well, it was a deposit and it was valued by my church. And when I failed, it was a big withdrawal on my youth ministry. Well, I hope this leads to some good discussions in your group about striking this balance. Blessings to you as you invest your time in teenagers this week.